agreed to, and I call the member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm really pleased to speak today in favour of the Australian-made logo, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's standing to speak in support of and to promote Australian-made, Australian manufacturers, Australian workers, Australian businesses. The member for Curtin who put this motion forward noted that the Australian-made logo, that iconic kangaroo, was introduced by Bob Hawke and the Hawke government. And of course, for many decades, Bob Hawke was the Australian-made logo, really. You saw Bob Hawke and you knew that there was a Prime Minister and a man who was all about Australia and Australia-made. You certainly didn't look at Bob Hawke and think about all of the money that was spent on spin and advertising and trying to sell the idea of doing something for the Australian people. It was about doing something for the Australian people. So it is extraordinary that this motion has been put up at a time when this government tried to change the Australian-made logo from the iconic kangaroo that almost 100% of Australians say they know what it means, and they associate it not just with something being made in Australia, but with quality, with absolute quality, into a logo that, for whatever reason, looks like a coronavirus. And not only did the government try to change the logo into a gold sparkly coronavirus, which perhaps 12 months ago we might have thought was pretty, but now we think is contagious, they spent $10 million doing it. How do you spend $10 million getting a new design in the first place, but then a design that you really have to walk away from, not really walk, run backwards away from when you put it out and everyone says, what are you talking about? It's a coronavirus, not the iconic logo. And it's interesting to note, of course, that this coronavirus Australian logo was produced, cost $10 million and walked away from, all during the time that the Prime Minister has said there couldn't be any consultation or work on an integrity commission because not one single public servant would be taken away from working on COVID, except for the ones that worked on the $10 million new logo that no one likes and doesn't do its job. You know, that's not a manufacturing policy, and it's certainly not an Australian-made logo. And you know, to appropriate possibly the best-known Australian-made phrase of the 20th century, that's not a manufacturing plan. This is a manufacturing plan. What the Leader of the Opposition and Labor have been saying about a future made in Australia. Don't spend money on logos and spin and advertising. Actually have a plan that is a coordinated strategy across the areas that are needed to bolster Australian manufacturing. Have a jobs and skills plan. Have an actual plan for investing in industries. Do things like rewire the electricity grid so that there is 21st century and beyond transmission of energy from Australia becoming a renewable energy superpower and jobs. Do the work with industry to deliver support. We heard yesterday that from the Minister herself that the so-called $1.5 billion manufacturing plan of this government that is supposed to be delivering economic stimulus to help us get out of this recession, $40 million is anticipated to be spent in this financial year, which, by the way, is less than what was in the budget papers. So already they've reduced what was in the budget papers. $10 million on a logo and $40 million on supporting manufacturing and Australian jobs through a recession. There's just something not right. There's just something not right. Yes, let's just hope we don't get another 4 silly logos. That is right. So, absolutely, the Australia-made logo is iconic, and we know that Australian manufacturers are and can be second to none in innovation and smarts. But they need more than a government that says, let's spend money on advertising and let's put motions forward in the parliament. They need a government that has a manufacturing plan and has workers' backs.
Order. The question is